Hello and welcome to this sonnenAcademy accreditation training video. To start with then, the first thing we're going to be doing is assembling and installing the Sonnen systems. So first things, we've got to unpack them. So let's have a look at the packaging and unpackaging procedure. Here we have all the range of components that you'll get with the Sonnen system. Batteries, main unit, the extension housing, as well as the accessory boxes for each. First thing to do is undo the box, this one being to the extension housing. We undo the two little plugs, there's two on each side. The top then slides off, take out the packers and take the unit out itself. Next step, we can also do the same for the main battery unit itself, the main top section. Again, take out the two plugs, slide the top cover off, and then we reveal the system, take out the packers. Very simple packaging, no cutting of straps or anything awkward like that. We then get to install the extension housing itself. So these aren't always typically used. If you've got a system that's only got the two battery modules, you don't need to use this, but if you've got a larger system you can, or if you're going to install the system to add battery modules later on, you use this. So first thing we do is to take the front cover off, simple 3 little screws, take out all the little accessories which were inside it, and then position it back to the wall. Now with the main unit, there is actually a template to set out the position of these systems, but if you are using the extension housing, you don't necessarily need that. The self-leveling mat goes on first of all. This is to take out any slight undulations from the floor, but it also acts as a thermal barrier. The most important feature of that part of the product is the thermal characteristics to be a thermal barrier. Next thing to do is fix the unit back to the wall. This installation here is just going straight back against a section of form ply, so obviously we don't need to do any wall fixings, we can just simply screw it in and then set aside the cover for later on. Next step then is to get the main cabinet in itself. Now I've already unboxed this, and as you can see here, this is the hybrid 9.53. All of the main AC and metering and internet connections at the top. First step is to take out the two little screws on the left hand side to swing the door open and be able to take out those small section of accessories inside, the AC cable and the welcome letter. When installing it, you need to have the door open to be able to access the fixing positions to get the system back to the wall. Then for ease of installation, we simply sit that on top of the extension housing, ensuring that it's perfectly lined up on each side, open it up and then screw it in place. Now there is access between the extension housing and the main unit. You get two little plastic clip-on strips which need to be positioned around the edge of those openings to ensure that there's no ever chafing of the cables. And then what we do is we pass then the braided earth strap between the extension housing and the main unit to ensure that we have earth continuity. This is purely equipotential bonding, but it's a very important feature of the Sonnen system that everything is earthed back to the same base value. We then take one of the accessory kits, this being the accessory kit for the main unit, just to demonstrate everything else that comes with the system. We've got installation manuals, we've got the metering, CTs, PV connections, battery connections, label kits and what have you. The LFP2, the Sonnen LFP2 battery modules. Each one of the battery modules comes individually packaged. So what's important then is with the extension housing is to take out all the components within the accessory kit, and most importantly then for now the earthing straps, because each one of the battery modules needs equipotential earth bonding, so we get those straps onto them. It can be done once the batteries are installed, but personally I think this is a far simpler procedure if you get these earth cables on prior to installing the batteries themselves. Now each one of these batteries are rated at 2.5 kilowatt hours, that's total capacity. Usable capacity is 90%, which takes them down to 2.25 kilowatt hours. They use the C-bus protocol, so what this means is that you don't need to worry about balancing voltages when you install them. They can simply be stacked in and added to at a later date if the customer wants to expand the size of the system, because they all reference the voltage and basically look at a cascading effect. So as they charge up, the one with the lowest voltage will always charge first. Inside the sonnen system here you can see that we've got Velcro straps. These are to be able to hold battery modules in place. So here we can look at the top connections. We've got the positive and negative, and we've got all the various different C-bus and BMS communications. The battery terminals, the positive and negative, they are polarity protected, so it's impossible to put the negative connection into the positive terminal or vice versa. First thing we do here, battery number 1, is we put in the main communication cable from the sonnen system. It's important here that this is plugged into the controller terminal and not the line in. It's very clearly labelled. We also then take the main positive cable into the positive terminal. Then what we do is we select 2 of the shorter battery cables and a C-bus cable. So positive, negative and the C-bus, the shorter ones from the accessory kit. Now these batteries come and although they have about 85% state of charge, they are turned off and they only actually turn themselves on once the sonnen system tells it to. So although, as you can see here, we've just plugged in the positive and negative and they have exposed terminals, the battery is for all intensive purposes off, so there's no danger of any exposed live parts. We also then plug in the C-bus cable. Taking battery number 2 and simply installing that in front of number 1. Connecting in the positive and negative terminals. So again, as the batteries are turned off, in the C-bus there, we plug that into in, and then so it goes from out from battery number 1 to in on battery number 2. Now as the batteries are, like I said, turned off, there is no arc hazard with these battery modules at all. Very important feature when considering AS5139. Next cables to select are the much longer battery and C-bus cables, because they need to be able to pass from battery module number 2 down through the extension housing to battery number 3. So first thing we do there is put the C-bus cable in, positive and negative. Now what's handy with the Velcro strapping is that we can actually use that also just to hold not only the batteries in place, but also to charge up all the cables. So for the sake of simplicity, what we do is pass down those 2 earth cables from batteries 1 and 2, which we already fitted, and terminate them on one of the earthing pins in the extension housing. You'll find that there's earthing pins all the way down through the extension housing as well as in the main unit. For, again, sake of simplicity and ease of installation, what I recommend is making sure that you terminate those in locations that are easily accessible. They don't necessarily need to be terminated adjacent to the batteries themselves. So what we're doing here is we're passing all 4 cables down through the extension housing. So that's the main negative cable, which is going in here, which is coming from the sonnenBatterie head unit itself, and the 2 DC cables coming from battery number 2 and the C-bus cable. Next step then, loosen off the next section of Velcro. Take battery number 3. Connect into that C-bus and positive and negative DC terminals. And then we take a shorter set of battery cables and C-bus cables and plug those into battery number 3. And then finally take battery number 4. So as you can see, there is actually spare position at the bottom of the extension housing. The Sonnen system is able to take 6 battery modules, allowing for 15 kilowatt hours of total capacity. Positive in, negative in, and the final C-bus connection going into the in position. Now, as this is the last battery, we also then take the negative from the main head unit to this. So although the batteries are actually wired in parallel, the initial positive goes to battery number 1 and the negative goes to the battery, or the last battery in this instance is battery number 4. Then we secure those in position. Again, put on the earthing cables onto one of the conveniently located earthing lugs for the equipotential bonding, and just tighten those. So that is the complete installation: extension housing, head unit and batteries. Any spare cables, just simply store those for future use in the extension housing. The door itself also equipotential bonding strap which goes onto the door. Make sure that that's nice and tight, and also just make sure that it's positioned in such a way that it allows to be able to close the door. Sometimes if you have that lug facing upwards or to the side, it can be a bit tricky to close it. The door panel itself has 2 little clips which need to be slotted into position at the lower section and where the mid shelf is. Once that's in and located, you can simply screw closed the 3 nuts at the top. Close up the main unit and replace the 2 screws in the side. And there we have the complete system installation. All of the AC connections and everything are explained in a separate video.